Okay, today the subtopic is 3.5, changing the subject of the formula. Okay, first we must know what subject actually means. So for example, in this case, y is the subject of the formula. This is y on one side, everything else is on the other side. In this case, p is the subject of the formula because p is on one side, everything else is on the other side. Okay, now why don't I just dive into a few examples from exercise 3.5 and you know what I mean by changing the subject of a formula. So let me start with 1a, where we already know is y equals to mx plus b, and they tell us that they want us to make x the subject of the formula. So notice x is on this side, y is on that side. One trick that I generally like to do is to swap the whole equation first so that x is on the left hand side. All I'm doing is taking this and just swapping it over like this. Okay, now if I want x to be by itself or the subject, first notice that b is there, so I will minus b on both sides to get 2mx equals to y minus b. And finally, to get x as a subject of the formula, I must divide by 2m on both sides, so I get y minus b over 2m. And quite easily, x is now the subject of the formula for 1a. Next question I'd like to go through with you all is 1b, where p equals to mgh. In this case, they want h to be a subject of the formula. Again, let's employ the trick I like to use. We just swap everything around. Okay, then now, in order for me to get h as the subject of the formula, I just divide throughout by those that I don't want is mg. So I divide both sides by mg, I get p over mg. And that is 1b for you. And that is even simpler than 1a, it seems, interestingly enough. Okay, 1i. 1i is t equals to a plus n minus 1d. And they say that we want n to be a subject of the formula. Again, n is on this side. We just do that trick. We just swap everything over. I get a plus n minus 1d equals to t. First thing that we need to do is to get rid of a. Okay, can't divide yet, so I get n minus 1d equals to t minus a. And finally, if I want n to be subject of the formula, still can't do that yet. Okay, we have a d stuck there. So what I do here is I divide both sides by d. I get n minus 1 equals to t minus a over d. Notice that n is still not the subject yet because we have a minus 1 there. So in order for n to be all by his lonesome self, I add 1 to both sides. Okay, so I get t minus a over d plus 1. And n has become the subject of the formula. Okay, I give you another example now. 2b. Okay, 2b works like this. 2b, what we have is 1 over u plus 1 over v equals to 1 over f. And they tell us that we want v to be the subject of the formula. Before we even begin, think first, do I need, okay, to actually swap the equation around? No need, because v is already on the left hand side, so no need to do the magical trick there. But I want v to be the subject of the formula, so I start with 1 over v equals to 1 over f minus 1 over u. Okay, one mistake that y'all will try to do is y'all will just try to inverse everything. Then y'all say that v equals to f minus u. This is very wrong. Okay, cannot do this. Okay, we can only invert, right, if there are two fractions. What do I mean? If, like, so for example, x over 3 equals to 4 over 7. If you want to invert it, both sides is one fraction. Okay, then you can just take the inverse. 3 over x is equals to 7 over 4. In this case, why we can't do this yet is because there's one fraction on the left and two fractions on the right. So in order for me to form a single fraction, what I have to do is to simplify I have to what I call combine these two fractions into one single fraction. So the lowest common denominator, as we have learned in previous chapter, is u times f. So this one is times u over u minus 1 over u times f over f. Okay, so what I get is 1 over v equals to u over uf minus f over uf. So eventually I get 1 over v equals to u minus f over uf. Now I can take the reciprocal of both. I can say that v equals to uf over u minus f. And that is 2b. One last example to go, and that is 2f. Okay, 2f works like this. They say that t equals to 2 pi square root of L over G. Okay, now what we need here is this. We need to make G, okay, my subject of the formula. Excuse me. So G is on the right hand side, T is on the left hand side. What we do? We just swap places. 2 pi square root L over G equals to T. Okay, before we do anything, it's stuck in a square root, but wait, there's the 2 pi here. So I do first is, I take L over G, I divide both sides by 2 pi. So I get T over 2 pi. How do I get rid of the square root sign? I square both sides. So if I square both sides of my equation, I get T over 2 pi square. So L, okay, over G is equals to T square. 2 pi times 2 pi gives me 4 pi square. Now, what they want us is to have G as a subject formula. One fraction on the left, one fraction on the right. Yes, we can take the reciprocal of both. So I take G over L is 4 pi square over T square. Finally, I can get my subject formula. G equals to 4 pi square times L over T square. And I'm done with the examples. Oops, I'm done for the examples from exercise 3.5. Thank you for watching.